Hi, my name is Jessica Chapman, and this is my case presentation video role play. I am going to be using the multisystemic therapy theory in interviewing and working with a juvenile who is in the justice system for issues with violence. The interventions that I plan on using are, of course, attending skills, also joining empathically and building trust with the client as well as the family, to build rapport with both of them, to form a working network. I'm going to make sure the family is involved with the planning for any kind of treatment that may be done. Also, I'm going to come up with well-defined and presently relevant treatment goals, and I'll do that by working with the family in this initial family video. It's important to focus on the strengths of the client instead of the problems, so that we're able to use those strengths to make a working treatment goal. And here is my introduction description of the client. The client's name is Jackson Doe. He's a 15-year-old white male. He's a violent offender, and he beat up his younger brother recently, about 2 months ago, with a pool stick, and caused very serious injuries and almost caused the death of his younger brother, who is 13. I am going to be evaluating Jackson to determine if he should be kept in the juvenile justice system or sent and into the adult justice system. He has a background with violent offenses with family, friends, school, nothing with the justice system yet. This is the first issue with the justice system. He is the middle child of 3 children. His younger brother is 13 years old, and his older sister is 19 years old. His biological parents divorced when he was 5 years old. His dad said that he was going to visit his brother in Colorado and never came home. And so, of course, Jackson had a really hard time with his father leaving, and that's when the violence began to escalate. He's been going to a private school for the extent of his school career thus far. Because of the violence that he has displayed in school, he has been kicked out of school due to what they call the 3-strike method. And after the 3rd violent offense, he got kicked out of school, and they referred him to a public school in his area. His mother remarried when he was 7. And he was not able to establish a relationship with his stepfather. He always treated his stepfather very coldly, and would not give him a chance to form a relationship. And he started getting violent during the time when his mother got remarried. So he showed some acting out for that reason. He's been physically violent with siblings before. He's also had violent outbursts at school with peers, and that's what caused him to get kicked out of school. He started seeing a therapist around 14 because they were having such problems with him in school and with violence issues at home. And the therapy had begun to make some improvements in Jackson's behaviors at home and at school. His father, biological father, called about 2 months ago, wanting to be a part of his children's lives again. And this set off some behavioral outbursts and violence for Jackson. This is when the incident occurred, and the incident being when Jackson beat his brother with a pool stick after getting angry during a game of pool, and beat him almost to death and caused severe permanent damage. His mother and stepfather intervened when they heard the screaming downstairs, and his stepfather pulled Jackson off of his younger brother. This occurred about 2 months ago, and he's now in the juvenile justice system, and he is being evaluated to see if he should be transferred into the adult justice system. We are having our initial family meeting, and in this meeting we will be discussing Jackson's strengths, and we are going to be coming up with a few treatment goals for him to carry out. And here is our video. Hi, my name is Jessica Chapman. I am a therapist, and I'm here to work with Jackson as well as his family to decide whether or not Jackson should stay in the juvenile justice system or be transferred to the adult justice system. And we are going to talk and talk about Jackson's strengths, what you're good at, and we're going to decide on a few treatment goals for us to start working on, regardless of whether or not Jackson moves into the adult or stays in the juvenile justice system. Okay, first of all, what I would like to do is, Jackson, I would like to ask you to just tell me about the incident that night.
Well, it all started, my brother and I were playing pool, and he was beating me, and he started teasing me, and the next thing I remember was just going black, and then grabbing the pool stick and beating him. And before I knew it, it was my mom and dad were in there, and it was just a mess, and it was just shoddy after that.
Okay. Can you tell me what you were feeling towards the end of the pool game?
Just anger. I was mad that I was getting beaten in pool, and that he was teasing me, so it was just like a switch went off, and I just saw red and lost control. I just remember feeling anger.
Did you transfer directly from being okay into anger, or was there an escalating process?
It was more of just okay to anger.
Okay. All right. Miss Jackson, how are you?
I'm okay.
Okay. Well, you are going to play an active part in our session today and any further sessions that we may have together. We want to incorporate and include the family in all decision-making processes and in coming up with treatment goals.
Okay.
So I want to talk today about Jackson's strengths, some things that he's good at. Jackson, let's start with you. What do you feel that you are good at?
I am good at art. I like to draw, play music, anything really that involves creativity.
Wonderful. Okay. So other than creativity, let's talk about school. What subjects do you like in school?
Math.
Okay. Do you have best friends, or, just friends that you hang out with?
Both.
Okay. Wonderful. Y'all have fun together?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sure.
Wonderful. Okay, Miss Jackson, I want to ask you the same question. What do you think are some of Jackson's strengths?
Well, he's very caring, and thoughtful of other people. I've always noticed that about him. Like he said, he's always, always wanting to color on things, and just loves music and things like that. So.
Okay. What does he spend most of his time at home doing?
He listens to music a lot. I will say that the older he's gotten, the more he's isolated. He doesn't really like to be around the family much, which I understand, and I try to, hope that it's not a teenage, hope that he's going through a phase, but it just hasn't gotten any better.
Okay. Is that when his violence started escalating around when he started getting older and isolating more?
Probably so. I think that he always had anger issues when he was younger, but when he started to isolate was really when I noticed the anger.
Was that around the time that you and Mr. Davis got married?
Yes,
Okay.
It is.
Jackson, how did you feel when your mother and Mr. Davis got married?
I was deeply saddened. It was just like I felt like I lost the trust that was there, or whatever that consisted of, and yeah, I was just hurt, honestly.
Understandably.
So many emotions, it was hard to process, honestly.
Absolutely. Did you talk to anybody about this or share your feelings with anyone?
No.
Do you think that's something that you could start doing, is if you're feeling those negative emotions like sadness and anger, that you could talk with someone about them?
Sure, I don't see why not.
Okay. We are going to work today to build some treatment goals.
Wonderful.
We're going to work together as a team, and we're going to come up with 3 treatment goals that are doable for Jackson and for the family. And I'm going to be involved throughout the entire process. I'm available to you 24/7. And this is just going to be a smooth process, and we will work as hard as we can to make sure that Jackson receives the best care that he needs. First of all, I know that you're going through this process, the justice process, and I imagine that's very hard on you. Is that right? And as of right now, we don't know where you're going, whether you're going to stay in the juvenile justice system or move into the adult system. How do you feel about that?
It worries me.
Okay. How do you feel about that, Ms. Davis?
I just never thought that we would get to this point, and it scares me, because he's my baby, and I don't want, nobody wants their child to be in this position or to go to jail or prison or anything. So it's very scary.
Absolutely.
Very worrisome.
Absolutely. So we're going to work together and try to resolve this. What do you think, Jackson, would help you get through this justice process? The rest of the time that you'll be in juvenile detention, up until your trial date, when it will be decided what route you're going to take from there. Let's talk about how to make that as easy as possible for you. Tell me about how that goes.
I mean, I feel like a lot of things could happen, honestly. I don't really know where to start. I've never really done this before. But if I'm here, I mean, this therapy seems like it would work. I've never tried that before, so.
How do you feel just throughout the day? Like a normal day in the detention center, how do you feel?
Alone. I mean, yeah, there's other kids there, but it's a pretty scary place, I mean, most of the time you're locked away in your own cell, and you just get fed some meals, and then once every blue moon you get out with other, people, and are able to, you know, hang out. But for the most part, it's just depressing. I get really depressed in there
Absolutely.
with the lack of, you know, human contact.
Right. So not being able to interact with your peers and your family is really depressing for you.
Correct.
Let's start with this first treatment goal. And what I want to do is lay out a kind of like a guideline for helping Jackson to get you through the rest of this process up until your trial. Okay. So I know that you've experienced some violent outbursts at the center. Why don't you tell me about that?
Well, I've just, you know, I don't know if it's from, you know, from all the things I've done or from just the situation I'm in, but I've just had moments where I lash out and trash the cell and just want to start fights, and you know, it's just what I've always done. I don't know if that comes from somewhere else or not. I'm not really sure.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, if when you go into these violent episodes within the detention center, how does this relate to the escalation of your anger the night that you harmed your brother?
Well, I think I just start feeling uncomfortable, and it's almost like a misplaced feeling, or I get really confused, and I just, that's where I go, is to anger. I guess it's just the noise, almost like a reaction.
So anger is what you do when you start to feel uncomfortable. Is that also what you do when you start to feel depressed or anxiety, those kind of things? Okay.
I would say so.
Okay. Well, I know that you said you're feeling depressed at the center. So we want to come up with a goal so that you can express yourself instead of moving into that anger. Okay. And so what do y'all think would be a good way to do that? I'm available 24/7, so I can absolutely be available to be contacted as long as the detention center allows you to use the phone. Okay. And because I'm your therapist, they should accommodate that. What do you think would help you not escalate to violence?
I mean, maybe doing some of the things I like to do, like drawing or expressing my creativity. I mean, I feel like that's something I could do, at least while I'm in there.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I mean, I know we're locked up most of the time, but interacting with some of the other guys in there who are trying to do the right thing, I mean, that's all I can think of.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. What do you think, Miss Davis?
I think that those would be very beneficial to him if he takes advantage of them. I also think that, you know, maybe if he was given the opportunity to, when he knew that he was getting upset, to call you, to call me, to stop, to journal, to do something to redirect all those emotions and feelings that he has. Because I think he gets to a certain point where he can't stop and he can't turn it off.
Right.
And that's when it gets really scary.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I think that's a great idea. So let's see, what would that look like? If you're getting angry and you're starting to feel those first emotions arise that lead into an outburst, do you think, Jackson, that you could stop and take a deep breath and reach out to an employee, a staff member at your center, and tell them what's going on, and that you would like to be able to contact your therapist?
I could do that.
You do think that you could do that? Okay. How's your relationship with these staff members?
I mean, just from the past and my violent outburst, it may not be the best, but I'm sure they would be willing to help.
Absolutely. And I think they would. And that's one thing that we're going to do together is get with the staff, the employees within the Justice Detention Center. And we're going to talk to them and try and get them included in this process. Because it's very important for all of us to work together to help you, Jackson, to help you meet these goals, help you come up with further goals, and just generally to have a better looking life where you don't feel that depression and you don't feel that anxiety, and so you don't need to escalate to anger and violence. Okay, so let's come up with our first treatment goal. You have to go through this process, the justice process. You don't have a choice. And what we can do together is make that as easy and go as smoothly as possible. And so we're going to do exactly what Ms. Davis, what you said to do. And I think that's a great idea. Whenever you start to feel those initial feelings, such as the depression, the irritability, any anxiety or fear, I want you to reach out. And I want you to reach out to a staff member that's available. And we will work together with them to find you, make a rapport between you and the staff member so that this is an easy thing to do. Because I don't want you to have to fight just to get me on the phone. Okay? So, when you first start feeling those emotions, I want you to contact a staff member and tell them, you know, look, I'm not feeling too good, and I'd really like to speak with my therapist. And they should accommodate, okay? If they can't do it right away, that's understandable. There's a lot of stuff going on at a detention center. And so in between, if they can't do it right away, in between the time that you reach out to a staff member until you're able to call me, I want you to do something creative. I want you to pick up a journal or your sketchbook, and I want you to draw, or I want you to write. And I want you to draw or write how you're feeling, okay? And that should help de-escalate your emotions. It's just to putting your intentions into creativity will hopefully de-escalate enough to get you on the phone with me, okay? And then we'll go from there. How does that sound? You say this sounds wonderful. Okay, great. Okay, so we'll say that our first treatment goal is to go through this juvenile justice process with as little violence with others, with staff members as possible. And to do that by making a rapport with staff members so that you feel comfortable enough to reach out to them in order to ask to get in touch with me. Okay, and any time in between reaching out to the staff and getting on the phone with me, I want you to do something creative. Okay, great. Well, that's our first goal. Okay, you think that's doable?
It's definitely doable.
Wonderful, wonderful. How do you feel about getting these treatment goals together?
It seems a little cumbersome initially, but I think if I work at it, it's going to help in the long run, and I don't really want to be the person I have been. So
I understand, definitely. You're willing to take the action that is needed to control your anger and your violence. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, well, let's discuss the family, the home life that we have had up until the incident. Okay. Now, I know from reading Jackson's file that his biological father, left when he was very young, 5 years old, and really just left without anything, without a goodbye, without an explanation. He just kind of disappeared. And I know that that has to be hard for all of you as a family. And I know that that is when Jackson first began acting out, is right around 5 years old. And it just kind of got progressively worse. After about a year is when he started to calm down. Is that right? Around first or second grade?
I think so. That seems about right.
Okay. Which is when you met Mr. Davis.
Correct.
And how did Jackson's behavior change when you and Mr. Davis started seeing each other?
I could tell that he really didn't like it initially. I could tell that he was uncomfortable, and he didn't understand. But I always thought that it was just, the initial shock. I thought it was something that we would be able to work through.
So you didn't think that it was something that could potentially cause major issues such as this?
No. Okay. Not in the beginning.
No. Absolutely right. Okay. So after you and Mr. Davis got married, the violence kept getting worse, and Jackson got kicked out of school. How did you feel about that?
Oh, I was just devastated. He's always, growing up, he was always very good at school. He loved going to school. He had lots of friends, and it's just very unlike him. It was out of his behavior for him to, to do any of these things. So it was very hurtful, and, I guess I hurt for him because I know what a setback that is, and I know how hard it is when you have been surrounded by friends and, teachers, and you've grown up with these people, and then you get taken out of that environment. How
Absolutely
shocking it must be.
Right.
So it scared me for him.
Of course, understandably so. And I want us to work together to see if we can get Jackson to stay in this juvenile system, and we will move forward from there. From what I understand, Mr. Davis is very supportive. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Jackson, I know you don't get along well with your stepfather, but I think that you have the ability to do so when and if you learn how to de-escalate your anger. What do you think about that?
It seems hard initially, but I definitely want to see what we can do to move forward and for me to not be as angry with him.
So you don't want to be as angry anymore?
No, not at all.
Good. That is a good first step for sure. Okay, so obviously we had this big issue with your younger brother. And from what I understand, we've had previous issues with violence within the home with the siblings too. Tell me about your relationship with your brother and sister.
I feel like it's good sometimes. It's just when I get angry, nobody wants to be around me when I'm angry for this very reason. I lash out. But it seemed to be good at times, and sometimes it didn't.
So, is this process of when you lash out at your brother and sister, is this the same process that you go through other times that you get angry?
Kind of, but I guess it's milder at times versus this reaction where it was severe.
Right. And I know you care about your little brother.
Of course.
Okay, so let's lay out the second treatment goal. Okay. we want to live in a house without violence. Is that agreeable between both of you?
Yes.
Okay, great. Then we're going to work together to make that happen.
Perfect.
Let's say our second treatment goal is no violence within the household. This includes with the stepfather, you, Miss Davis, and your siblings, Jackson, to have as peaceful a household as possible. And it is understandable at times that you will get angry, and we need to come up with plans for you to, actions for you to take to de-escalate so that the violence within the family doesn't occur, okay? So, what we're going to do with that is, do you feel like you can talk with your mother if you're having a problem? If you're feeling angry, do you feel like you could reach out to her?
I feel like I could.
Do you think you could do that, Ms. Davis?
I think you could. I really do.
Okay, good. When you feel that initial emotion, those initial feelings before the actual anger hits, I want you to see if you can pause and contact your mother, whether you're in the house, whether you need to call her. She will be your safe person if you feel comfortable talking to her about these things. And what I want you to do is reach out and contact her and tell her how you're feeling. Because I know she wants to understand how you're feeling, and I know she wants to do what she can to help. So this way, we're building communication with your mother, and making sure both of you are involved in this process. And I want you to try and do this before you take any action out of violence or anger. Do you think that that is possible to slow down enough to contact her?
Sure, I do. I never thought about that before.
Again, if you can't get your mother directly on the phone, is it possible for you to find some way to express your feelings creatively without acting out?
Yes, very much so.
Okay, good. So we'll say no violence within the household, including stepfather, mother, and siblings, and to try and remain calm long enough to contact you, Mrs. Davis, and let you know what he's feeling, and in that way de-escalate the escalating anger, and therefore hopefully stop the violence. Do you feel comfortable with that?
Yes, I do. I do. I just hope that as long as he feels comfortable with me being the safe person, I'm totally fine with that. But I don't want him not to use me as the safe person just to go along with it. You know, if there's someone else that would be better, is there someone else?
Jackson, you and I can talk about that next time we see each other, because I know sometimes there's things you don't want to talk about in front of your mom, and I understand that. So we'll address that, and then we'll be in communication with you, Mrs. Davis, and we'll just let you know where we stand on that. Okay. Our ultimate goal at this point, other than not acting out in violence, is to stay within this juvenile justice system. Because if we transfer to the adult justice system, Jackson isn't going to receive the rehabilitation and the stabilization that you need and that you deserve. Okay. So what we're going to do with that is follow our first two treatment goals that we've set. And anytime you start to feel that anger, to do one of these things. Call me, call your mother, draw, be creative, make sure that you speak with one of us and that you feel that you've de-escalated. And then hopefully there won't be any violence after that. And hopefully with positive behavior within the detention center, hopefully that will, look good, and we'll be able to get Jackson to get you home. And when I say home, what I mean is we're going to work with the what's called the multisystemic therapy, okay? And this has been shown to have really good results with juveniles, with kids your age. And it's a 3 to 4 month process, an intense process, in which we meet as a family once a week. And that will look like incorporating your stepfather and your siblings eventually. So that we can work as a whole family, as a unit, to figure out what we need to do to give you the support you need. Okay. Also, being at home, you'll be able to go back to school, and we don't want you to be out of school and in prison. We want you to be rehabilitated and back in school with your peers and your family. So you're able to do that with this type of therapy. So we'll have intense family meetings once a week where we will assess these treatment goals and change them. Excuse me, bless you. And change them if we need to, tweak them in whatever way that we need to. And when we feel like we have reached these goals, it will be time to make new ones. And the entire family will be involved in this process, as well as school officials. I want to include them in the process too, because I want them to know what's going on, and I want them to be a strength for Jackson and not a force that he has to fight against. So, how does that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay. Is there anything other than that? Oh, and as I've said before, I'm available 24/7 to the entire family. Okay. And this is for 3 to 4 full months, and then we'll reassess then, and then move forward from then. Are there any questions or anything?
I don't think I have any. I just really appreciate your time.
Of course. If you have a question at 2 in the morning, I'm available. Okay. And we are going to work together to make sure that Jackson gets better, because we don't want him in prison. And I know you don't want to be in prison.
Not at all.
Okay, great. Well, I look forward to working with both of you. Okay. And that's going to conclude our session for today.
Great. Thank you so much.
This is going to wrap up my video. And everything went really well, I believe, with the assessment and the meeting. One thing that I kind of struggled with was coming up with and staying on the topic of Jackson's strengths. Being a strengths-based therapy, I feel that I didn't include his strengths enough, and I'm not sure how to include them more than I did. Working with Jackson and his mother went well. I feel that Jackson was as receptive as he could be, and that Mrs. Davis was receptive, and she really does care and want her son to get better. I guess that sums everything up. I enjoyed working with the multisystemic therapy, the way that it went, and including the family and eventually with the school system and everything like that. And it's definitely something that working with juveniles in the future, hopefully, something that I can use in my actual practice. So yeah, that's the one thing that I had a hard time doing, was concentrating on Jackson's strengths. So if I could get some feedback on that, and of course anything else, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.